So James, one of your favourite effects is echo. And
Love the echo.
You use it certainly with vocals, you use it a lot.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 examples here of you using the echo with vocals, all very different from each other. So what's the one you want to show us first?
Okay, so firstly, I'm going to show like the most simple one, which is basically get your echo on like a 3/4 beat setting, which is quite a long, almost messy echo, and it makes things sound very spacious. And I'm using it on this acapella. So you can hear this.
Turn it off and just play it without it. Just so
So that's dry, and then.
So this is a 3/4 length echo, 3/4 of a beat echo, which is on all systems, and you've got it turned up about just under halfway.
Yeah, it's quite wet, but it's still not too wet. You can still make out what the vocal's doing.
So if you turn that too high, the echo becomes louder than the original vocal.
Yeah.
And if you turn it too low, you can't really hear it.
Exactly.
So you've got it about 2/3 of the way towards the middle, right? So it's so that's what you're going to be setting. And how do you use this? What's the use case of an echo over the whole track like that?
If I'm gonna go like this. So if I do chopping on the cue button like that, then you get like a really nice kind of tail on it, which will make the vocal feel like it's bouncing a little bit. And then basically what I've got here is a track that I would always play with this one. And I'll do a demonstration where I'm starting from this, going into a breakdown. And the breakdown in this track, I want it to feel quite spacious. And that's why I've kind of left this long echo on. It makes the vocal feel like quite spacey. So I'll give a demonstration going from the chopping into the full vocal. So you can really feel like the gaps in between the vocal. You can hear the echo tailing out right through the gap, and it makes it feel like you're in like an enormous space.
We were just into a big, obviously you've got to do your usual stuff as you build that up.
Yeah.
But the point to show there is that it sounds so much more epic with that echo on the whole vocal than without, and it's quite a long echo like you say. Another example of James using the low pass filter, you go and watch the low pass filter lesson if you've not seen it, to make space for that vocal to live. Otherwise there's going to be too much going on in that track, because this track here, at that point, without that filter, I guess this is large.
It's very big. It's very noisy.
Okay, so that's an example of using quite a long echo over the whole vocal. What's the next example you have for us?
So we've got Disclosure, Bang That, a cappella, which is quite a it's quite a dry vocal, meaning there's not like a lot of reverb on it or anything to start with. So if I play it right now,
bang that till you pass out, shake that till you pass out, freak that till you pass out.
So it's quite a dry vocal. Now I like to play this on some tracks that are quite like techie, like quite techno-ish house tracks. And if you listen to it over these drums, let me skip through a little bit.
Bang that till you pass out, shake that till you pass out, freak that till you pass out.
So what I would like to do in this kind of scenario is, if we go all the way over to the shortest echo you can get, then you can get this super cool kind of bouncy effect from the vocal.
Bang that till you pass out, shake that till you pass out, freak that till you pass out, work that till you pass out. Bang that till you pass out, shake that till you pass out, freak that till you pass out, work that till you pass out. Bang that.
Very suits tech house, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, it feels quite underground.
So you had that down at 1/16 of a beat, which is on all echo or delay effects, you'll be able to dial that down to 1/16 of a beat. But if you're lucky enough to have a mixer that has got manual variations, so you don't have to stick to the beat, then you can play even further with that kind.
Yeah, we can go further with this and do like more in-depth effects. So let me demonstrate that. So we've got a manual adjustment on this mixer. We take it all the way down.
Do you pass out? Shake that. Do you pass out? Freak that. Do you pass out? Work that. Do you pass out? Bang that. Do you pass out? Shake that. Do you pass out? Freak that. Do you pass out? Work that. Do you pass out? Bang that. Do you pass out? Shake that. Do you?
So using it's almost like a phasing effect, isn't it? Because the echoes are moving around in the background, and you were just moving the number of milliseconds of the echo from
very slightly
up to still very short, and it's that.
It kind of made it feel
phasiness of.
Yeah, it kind of made it feel like it went really far away, and then when you take it off again, it's like, oh, it's come back in the room.
And you took it off again just as you brought the beat back in. So this is another example of building tension and then releasing it as soon as that beat comes back in. So we've gone from using a very long, ethereal echo with a low pass filter to give that kind of epic feel to a very different, very tight, almost claustrophobic tech house feel. What's the third example?
Third example. So again, it's an a cappella from Disclosure for no particular reason. I just seem to like these a cappellas. And I'm just going to run like a pretty standard house track underneath it. And I'm going to stretch the echo back out to 3/4 of a beat again. This time I'm going to press play on the acapella without pressing play on the echo straight away. So,
when a fire starts to burn, when a fire starts to burn, when a fire starts to burn, when a fire starts to burn.
So essentially what I'm doing is I'm capturing one word inside the echo, and that's the one word that I want to echo. So I don't want to hear this whole phrase echoed. If I had the echo activated the whole time and I press play,
when a fire starts to burn,
you can hear every word in the phrase being dragged out in the echo, which makes it kind of messy. So instead, I'm pressing play on the phrase,
when a fire starts to burn,
and I'm only hitting the echo button on the word burn. So the only word picked up in the echo is burn.
So this relates to some of the a cappella lessons you taught elsewhere in the course, where you're teasing in, you're not playing the whole a cappella here, you're teasing it in. But instead of maybe looping the last word or something, this time you're echoing it. You're deliberately echoing it. And one of the keys with getting this right, I guess, is not to fall in the trap of pressing the stop button and the cue to stop and the echo button at the same time. Because if you do that, nothing will happen. So just one more time, show us the order of play for that.
So
without do it without the track.
Okay,
just so people can see.
So we're going
when a fire starts to burn.
Yeah, so burn was the echo going
we're
switched
hitting
on.
Burn on there,
And when the burn word had finished, that's when
we have to stop the track.
Stop the track.
When a fire starts to burn.
And you're using the cue button because cue button will take you back to the beginning of that temporary cue and you're ready to go. But you've also got a hot cue in the same place.
So we could do it with the play as well.
When a fire starts to burn.
Yeah. So again, one more time over the track. Now we've explained it.
And just to demo as well, I think if you listen to this in a sort of in the context of like a set, if we didn't have the echo, it might feel like it was ended quite abruptly because the listener was expecting the next bit of the phrase to come in. So
when a fire starts to burn, when a fire starts to burn,
and then with the echo,
when a fire starts to burn, when a fire starts to burn.
Yeah, so it's production, isn't it?
It's essentially like doing a little bit of music production within the DJ set.
Yeah, so 3 very different ways to use acapellas there. The whole vocal, just the end of a vocal in that last example, and the middle example was using, as we said, quite a claustrophobic, very, very tight and almost trippy when you get the chance to use the very short echoes and move around within them. And you might have that on your gear. Certainly it's on all decent mixes. But if not, just use the quarter, the 8th and the 16th echo, and you can switch between the two for a similar effect. And that is your 3 ways of using echo.